So number 2, this is a repeat person from last year's top 10, which I was super surprised was going to be putting out anything. The rap group is called Clipping, and the album is called Visions of Bodies Being Burned. So here's the thing. I don't know what you know about this group.
I've heard of the name. I've heard a lot of people really praise their work. I have yet to listen to, because like I said, I'm not the biggest rap fan. I have my select few artists to listen to. But I do know this band. I do know the reputation. It's something that I do know I need to check out.
So I've talked to him about it before. Daveed Diggs, who was the first Thomas Jefferson in Hamilton, has done a lot of other movie works over the last few years. He actually was also on a Uber commercial that had Sesame Street on there, but it was so funny to watch that because I'm just picturing him in Clipping, which if you know what Clipping is, Sesame Street should not even be near his work. This is another horrorcore rap group, and what I really enjoy, like I did with There Existed Addiction to Blood, is there's a lot of really, really, really good production work. Like with Code Orange, there's a lot more industrial sounds, a lot more electronic industrial that set this very awesome scene. And then Daveed Diggs is just super solid with his raps all the time. I will say I enjoy some of the raps more on There's This Addiction to Blood, but still, there's just some really, really solid works. Stuff like Check the Lock, I think is some of his best flow. There's also She Bad, which is a lot of fun. Pain Every Day is also really good. There's also some really far out ones. Eaten Alive, which is super weird because the background instrumentation feels really off comparison to everything else that's going on. It feels more like Daveed Diggs is telling a story about being in the bayou and being eaten alive by gators, but everything else is just very shaky and not really one with a type of beat, which makes it so interesting. And then there's also Enlacing at the end, which has some super interesting takes on like LSD culture and party culture. And there's this line of like, you're looking at your face. How are you looking at your face? Shit, this beat slaps though. And it's just like, that's the type of twisted shit that this group does. If you're interested in like super awesome storytelling, super interesting beats, this is right there for you. It was so close to being number 1 for me, but I just couldn't.
So my issue with horrorcore, whenever I think of horrorcore, the first band that is always top of my head, and it's because I grew up listening to them in high school, and now I'm embarrassed I listened to, is Hollywood Undead.
Oh,
so
buddy.
Horrorcore has a very troubled past.
Okay.
So let's leave that. So I have to not hold with the name horror rap against itself, or the genre horror rap, just because of how bad Hollywood Undead is.
Yes. Okay. I'm going to just say this real quick before you get to your number 2. Please do not think of Hollywood Undead. I actually checked out their 2 albums from yes, 2 albums from this year.
Didn't know.
They are leagues below. The rapping is so much better. The instrumentation is so much better. It actually sets a good scene.
Okay, I'll have to check it out. So, as I said earlier, I have been going back and forth between my number 1 and my number 2 for last week or so, ever since he asked me to do this video. And I cannot believe that this album is only going to be number 2 for me. Earlier in the year, when this came out, I was positive there was nothing that was going to beat this record for me.
Okay, now I know.
Nothing. But it's number 2, and I still don't feel super confident putting it at 2. But right now, if I had like a gun in my head, this would be number 2, and it's Trivium with What the Dead Men Say. Man, I've been a Trivium fanboy for such a long time. Like, Trivium, Breaking Benjamin are my 2 favorite bands ever since I was in high school. I've been with Trivium ever since friggin' Ascendancy, their second album. I've been with them through every single up and down. When this album came out, it came out right during quarantine. It just started. And this album really kind of got me through the first few weeks where it was kind of tough. This album is just, it rips. There's so much good on this album. Like, What the Dead Men Say is such an awesome track. It's considered technically the opener, even though Nine's the opener, but I consider like the first real song with Dead Men Say, man, it is just brutal. Matt sounds so good on this song. His screams are as good as they've ever been. And what can you say about Alex Ben? Man, what a dimension he has added to this band with this and the previous record. Man, like, his drumming is just so brutal, but he knows how to fill space so well and how those drum fills really accent what's going on in the music. Catastrophist, for a long time, was my song of the year. It's just so catchy, and Matt's cleans on this song sound incredible. I have never been the biggest fan of Matt's vocals in terms of his cleans, but the last 2 records with this and this in the sentence, man, they have really stepped up in a huge direction. Yes, he's not the best metal vocalist, but for what Trivium is, it fits so well and it sounds really good. Amongst the Shadows and the Stones just rips, just absolutely pummels you. Again, I keep going back. Alex Ben's drumming on this song in particular is just wow. Wow, the speed, precision, the power behind that drum kit that he uses is just, it adds such a different dimension to this band. Like I said, Bleed Into Me is kind of one of the weaker songs on the track. It kind of has a kind of heart from your hate feel from the sentence and sentence, but just not done as well. The Defiant is ripped straight from the Ascendancy playbook. It is old school Trivium thrown at you with a kind of a new twist on it, but man, like, it would fit on Ascendancy, it would fit on the Crusade. Like, it feels very mid-2000s Trivium, and I love the callback. Sickness Unto You is an interesting track. It's something that Trivium's never really done before. It has these kind of sparse moments in it that kind of like let the music kind of play out, but it's not like anything heavy. It's just kind of melodic. And then the chorus is, it's not anthemic, but it worms its way into your head for some reason, and for some reason it just works. I personally love Scatter in the Ashes. That's my favorite deep cut on the album. I love the interplay between him and Paulo, who does have a part, as you know, Paulo is the bassist. He actually has a duet with Matt on one of the choruses, which is really cool. And I just like the subject matter on that track really hits home because it's kind of a heavy song in terms of Matt's father and stuff like that. So it's definitely a track that kind of hits close to home for me, at least. Bending the Arc to Fear is a thrash hit. That's what it is. It's Trivium trying their hand at thrash, and I think it works really well. Matt sounds pissed in this track. He sounds angry. His guitar work with Corey on this track is absolutely awesome, and it's ripping. It's punches you in the face, gives you very little time to breathe throughout the song. It is another one of my personal favorites on the album. And then The Ones We Leave Behind, I think, is just an awesome closer. It's anthemic. It's heavy. It rips. It's everything you want Trivium to be. What an incredible run Trivium's been on the last 2 records. Man, like, they have just upped their game. They're getting better with age, which is just... You see a lot of bands not trying new things the earlier they get in their career. Like, these guys have been making music. Matt joined the band when he was, I think, 14 or something like that. Like, he's been in this band that long. And to see them still so fresh and innovative, even at this age, like, it just gives me so much hope for the future. And it really should be what bands who've been in the game a long time should look at and try to emulate, because you can evolve. You can make your sound better. You can continue to innovate and still be really, really solid and really, really awesome.
Not much more to say. I've already talked about this too. Like, I will agree, the drum work hits so fucking hard. Like, that helps out. And also, a lot of the guitar work is just killer as well. One that stands out to me, like, and I know it's like a small part, but it's at the end of the Defiant, where it goes quiet for a second.
Yeah.
Like, doom, 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 doom. Like, it's cool. Like, it's a small thing, but it just shows the range that this band has.
And with it being their, I believe it's their 8th album to be this innovative, 7th or 8th, like, it just shows that this band right now is in a songwriting groove that, you know, when you get in that kind of groove as a band, like, man, like, it can really take you far.
All right, so we are down to number 1, and I think you know what it is. I did not think this was going to be number 1 the whole entire year, but as I keep coming back to it, there's no holes in this album for me, and that is Caligula's Horse, Rise Radiant. This is a band I've been getting super into over the years. I first looked at them with In Contact, and I thought there's a lot of beauty in progressive with this band. I went back to all their other albums. I think Bloom was the best one that I've heard, just the most solid front to back. And I didn't think that anyone was going to be able to top that. But man, was I wrong with this album. I love the beauty of a lot of the songs. I love a lot of the depth of these progressive songs, because the thing is that it's only, I think, like 8 tracks and then 2 bonus songs, which you don't really need to listen to, but like all of them show off something a little bit different. Like The Tempest is heavy, Slow Violence is a little bit more of a slow burner, Salt, which is absolutely gorgeous. It's one of my favorite songs of the year. I love how that one just builds throughout, and the chorus is phenomenal. Resonate is this song that is perfect for the name. It's more atmospheric, it's a little bit more poppy. It has these beautiful build, it has a beautiful harmony lines. I just love all of that. Ocean Rise as another single also really cool. Valkyrie just hits so fucking hard. And I love the chord progressions on that song, especially on the chorus. And then Autumn into the Ascent. Autumn is the most beautiful song that they have ever done. It builds so well up into the Ascent. And like I was like, this is going to be the song that dictates whether this is going to be my favorite album of the year or not. And the Ascent pulls it off. It's an 11-minute song, but it feels like an Ascent. And it just works so perfectly. What you just said about Trivium, these guys have been developing their sound over and over and over. And it shows that this is the most mature and just most well built album that they have made. I'm very sad because they were supposed to come to Brighton in May, and I was really going to check them out. I'll just have to settle with this.
Yeah, I've liked Caligula's Horse. Never really dove deep into their discography. I really enjoyed Slow Violence. Really awesome prog track. These guys remind me of Hankin, but Mountain Air Hankin. That's what it feels like to me, and a little bit of affinity. They're not as heavy, but they have that just kind of like that it factor with a band like that, and it's something that a band that I know that once I really dive deep into them, I'm gonna love them. So I've been kind of saving that for a rainy day when I know that I can commit to like a deep album dive. But once I do, I know they're gonna become one of my favorite bands. My number one is a album that took me by absolute surprise. This is a band that is only on their sophomore record, and to come out with something this good this early into your career, their stock price is just skyrocketing right now. This is another UK metalcore outfit, and dare I say, this could be the future of metalcore. I don't know, like, man, like, there's so many words that I want to use to describe this, so I'll save it after I introduce them. It's Loath with I Let It In and It Took Everything. Man, this record is just so varied. Man, it can be very abrasive at times. Dillinger Escape Plan abrasive, or like early Converge abrasive. But they have these moments where it's just so serene and beautiful that can have this very Deftones type of feel. Like, they have songs like Aggressive Evolution just slam you over the head. Like, it is some of the heaviest metalcore / mathcore that you'll hear out there. But then you have things like Two-Way Mirror that are ripped right from the Deftones playbook. It's a cool down period, but it adds so much texture and variety to the album. New Faces in the Dark, awesome track. Gourd, which is just, again, pummeling. It has its abrasive moments, but it's not so abrasive to the point where you can't enjoy it or you don't understand what it's doing. This album, I feel like, has, again, a lot of heavy subject matter, especially just in the title itself. I Let In and It Took Everything. I feel like this album's talking about mental health. I think the dichotomy between the abrasiveness and the beauty is that inner battle between am I okay, am I not okay, trying to fight those inner demons that of depression and like suicidal thoughts, like that internal battle. And then it ends with I Let It In and It Took Everything. And it feels like it kind of closes the album with like that light, that clarity where you've kind of won that battle in the end. But it's a journey. It is something that I think everyone, even if you're not a fan of metalcore, you should hear this because you can relate to this album in some way or form, even if it's someone who you know is going through this battle. It's hard to put into words just how much this album kind of just took me by surprise, and I'm beyond excited to see where this band goes in the future. Like, they could be the future of metalcore.
I also really like this album. It didn't make my top 50, but it again this year was just so solid with albums. It's weird that you say it's metalcore, just because I don't necessarily picture Deftones as necessarily metalcore, but it did what the Deftones albums this year didn't do for me. I found that the Deftones album from 2020 was good, but it felt a little bit one note. It felt like it was trying to be super aggressive instead of doing what I really liked on, say, Gore or Kono Yoken, where it had a little bit more atmosphere, in my opinion. This one does it so well because it has that diversity of aggression and then surrealness. And it's also super cool because I don't know if you know this, but I think it was either this week or a couple weeks from now, they are putting out another album.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. They said that they wanted to do it on the 1-year anniversary of I Let It In. So who knows? Maybe they'll be able to top that sooner than you think.
Man, it's gonna be real tough because, like I said, this album was something special. It's aggressive, but it's done in a way where it's super appealing. Let's just say it's not like what's that album we liked a couple years ago that was so abrasive.
Daughters.
Daughters. It's not like that. not anything like that, but it has its moments where it kind of approaches Daughter's level, like abrasiveness and like that pitch kind of stuff. But again, when it balances with that dichotomy between the abrasion and the surrealness, the dichotomy is really, really breathtaking, and it's really special.
All right, so those were our lists. Let me know what you think about them. Let you know what you like or hate. Thanks so much again for doing this.
I'll be on anytime you want me on.
Yeah,
this was fun.
Maybe you'll be on the podcast sooner rather than.
Let's talk about that. And let's find a time to make that work.
Yeah. Do you have anything else to say?
No, just 2020 was a really awesome year for metal, and I'm very excited to see what's coming this year. I have a few bands that I'm eagerly awaiting their releases for, namely Neem Scarce when that comes out. I can already tell you it's probably going to be my number one just because I'm a fanboy, but those guys never disappoint. I'm intrigued to see what potentially could top it for me.
All right. Well, thank you so much for watching. This is The Music Fan. This is Ryan. We're signing out. And with that, we have finally finished my 2020 recap. Thank you so much for watching even just one of these videos. I really appreciate it. It's been a while since I've been putting stuff out, so just to have you guys back and watching and enjoying what I'm doing really means a lot. The last year has been crazy, and the beginning of this year has been even crazier at times, but we are slowly getting back to a little bit of normalcy, and that feels great because a bunch of us need it after the craziness of last year, the depression, the anxiety, everything like that. And it's just great that I can finally get back into a little bit of normalcy with you guys. This has been awesome to do. I really appreciate you guys letting me just babble on about albums that I never got to talk to you about, even though we're now in March. But that also gave me some time to listen to some new music as well, and that makes me super excited because that means I can start talking about new albums again. It will be happening very shortly. In fact, it's most likely going to be happening Sunday or Monday, whichever day I can put it out. I'm going to be bringing back not the Are You In series. That actually is going to probably be most likely done. I'm just not great when it comes to talking 20 minutes about one particular album. I'd rather talk about a bunch at once, especially because I don't want to get behind anymore. It gets really frustrating when I get behind because then everything else just falls apart like last year. I'm going to most likely bring back my 7 to Satisfy, which will be talking about 7 albums that I listened to and just ranking them at the end. Yes, I'm a little bit behind with albums that have come out this year, but honestly, the beginning of the year, January, February, there isn't a lot to talk about, so this at least gives me some time to formulate some opinions and then keep listening so that I will most likely keep a good organized pace. If I was able to listen to 210 albums in the span of like 4 or 5 months, then I should be able to listen to an album a day and get to 7 albums to talk about each week. So be on the lookout for that. There's a lot of good albums I'm going to be talking about in the first one. Again, thank you so much. You know what to do if you haven't already. Like this video. If you like it, share this with your friends if you think they would find this entertaining. Let me know your favorite albums from 2020. And, maybe where I went wrong as well, as long as you're constructive with it. And the biggest thing is, if you watched one of these videos or the whole entire 2020 recap and you have yet to subscribe, please do so. It would mean the world. That means I know that you enjoy what I'm doing and want to see more videos like this in the future. Maybe not as long, but more videos like this. Very shortly, I'll be coming out with my first 7 to Satisfy of 2021. Until then, thank you so much. This is The Music Fan, and I'm signing off.